Hi there, my name's Mary, and I'm the Director of Youth Services at the Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine. And I'm here today to read the book, Spunky Tells All. This book is by Anne Cameron, and the pictures are by Lauren Castillo. It was published by Farrar, Straus and Giroux in 2011. Now, Spunky is the Bates' dog, and Julian and Huey, who have had their own books, are the pet owners with their mom and dad. But now they've gotten a cat, Fiona, and Fiona and Spunky are kind of getting along. They're learning to adjust to each other. And so we're going to continue the book and see what happens next with them. I learned that I am Irish. There are many smells in the Bates' house. The best come from the eating room. The best of all is hot tamale sauce-flavored tortilla chips. The worst and most scary smell is also in the eating room, down low, close to my nose. It comes from what they call the refrigerator, the part at the bottom, where there is a special drawer they call the freezer. When I'm in the eating room, I avoid that drawer. I stay as far away from it as possible. Even when it's not open, I nose its terrifying smell, the smell of nothing. It's not because I'm silly or a coward that I fear and hate that smell. It's because of history. Long, long ago, we dogs and our humans crossed a frozen sea to a great empty land. We went far, far north to where snow put out the stars, so that day and night we could see nothing but snow falling from the sky, landing and icing everything around us. Our dog noses burned from cold, and our breath froze in our throats. Every day we could smell less and less, until at last we smelled for the first time the terrible smell of nothing. It terrified us. Even those of us who were sometimes afraid of our humans got close to them, close as skin to fur. Our humans breathed into our mouths. We breathed into our humans' mouths. Humans and dogs warmed each other, and both lived. Then some curious dogs went exploring and got lost from our humans and died alone in the snow. Alone in the snow, smelling nothing. No dog should die that way. Ever since then, we dogs have known that we must never leave our humans. That's what the spirits of the ancestors tell us. They're spirits that speak in our hearts, in our blood. They tell us another thing, too. If you want to live, stay away from the smell of nothing. In the Bates' eating room, when someone opened the freezer drawer, I could see inside to crystals of white ice and shapeless, odorless, dead stuff. And the deadly no smell whirled out like frozen white smoke burning, and my nose knew nothing, and I couldn't even look anymore. I was very scared. If I was strong enough, I thought, I would drag the freezer drawer out of the refrigerator, out of the Bates' home, and never, ever let it come back. One day, Fiona crawled into the back of a drawer in the family lie-around room. Somebody shut the drawer, and she was trapped, until Michelle heard her and let her out. She came out, switching her tail indignantly. "Who trapped me?" she demanded. "Nobody," I said. "You trapped yourself. If you don't want to be a prisoner, stay out of drawers. Going into drawers is a mistake. It was a mistake to suggest that she had made a mistake. She settled down on the couch. No cat has ever been attacked by a panther or a wolf in a drawer, she said. Drawers are safe places. But there are no wolves and panthers around here, I said. They don't come where cats spend a lot of time in drawers, Fiona said. I go into drawers so they won't come. And they don't. You should thank me. Compared to a wolf or a panther, you are not all that big yourself, you know? I am not big, but I reflect. And that is my power, I said. Dog, you live your way, she said. But as for me, if I ever think of wolves or panthers, I will look for a drawer to think in. A few nights later, I was reflecting and dozing on the floor of the family lie-around room. Fiona was nearby, polishing her ears. I fell asleep. When I woke up, she was gone. Usually when I don't see her, I could catch a tiny, fresh smell of foolish and know at once where she was. This time, there was no fresh smell of foolish. I got up. I tossed my head so my eardrums would be uncovered and I could hear better. But I didn't hear her anywhere. I trotted all over the house, using all my olfactory capacity. I nosed around outside. Nowhere was there any fresh Fiona smell of foolish. I felt dread, the same dread of no smell the ancestors must have felt as they crossed the burning cold, empty land. And that dread made me think. Could it be that Fiona had got into the no-smell freezer drawer? Was that why she had no smell anymore? I went to the eating room and sat in front of the refrigerator, closer than I had ever been to it, and pointed my nose at the freezer drawer, and yerfed to my family louder than I'd ever yerfed. They came running. I was afraid it was a burglar. No burglar, Ralph said. Michelle looked at my food bowl. You still have your nibbles, Spunky, she said. So what's your problem? I yerfed again. Pesky dog, bad dog. Cut it out, Spunky, Ralph said. I yerfed louder. I yerfed faster. Ralph put his hand on my head and pushed me toward the floor. That was an instruction, a humiliating instruction to stop yerfing. My head was pressed against the linoleum, which I have never enjoyed. If I just stopped yerfing, Ralph would say, "Good dog, Spunky." But if I stopped, maybe foolish Fiona would die. I kept yerfing. Ralph lifted his hand and let my head go free. He sighed. What a racket. I hate to say this, Spunky, but you're behaving badly. A nice, quiet, purebred cat is so much less trouble than you. Ralph had just said two unjust, untrue things, but did I even turn to look at him? No. I kept on yerfing, and finally I did the most painful deed I have ever done. I reached out to touch the horrible, disgusting, no-smell freezer drawer with my nose. Ralph took hold of my collar. Out to the bunny hutch. Dad, wait a minute, Huey said. Don't make him go. He's not just yerfing. I think he's telling us something. Ralph freed my head. I stopped yerfing. I kept my nose pointed straight ahead. He's pointing. See? Huey said. Pointing, like a hunting dog, right in front of our noses. He's pointing at the freezer. Let's see, Ralph said. He pulled the freezer drawer open. Burning white, no-smell smoke rolled out of it. Ralph bent down and reached to the back of it and brought out Fiona, motionless and stiff, all covered in no smell, as if she was no cat at all. "No," everybody said. "Oh, no!" Fiona's deadly no smell went right through me into my bones. I didn't want to touch her, but I was filled with pity. I licked her cold body, licked ice crystals off her fur and her whiskers, so that even if she was dying, she wouldn't die without a smell, because any animal, without even a dying cat, should have a smell, because without a smell there is no meaning, and without a meaning there is no life. It was the bravest thing I'd ever done. But she didn't move. Ralph stroked the places where I had licked Fiona. "It's worth a try," he said. "You've got the right idea, Spunky. It's just that your tongue's not big enough." He began to rub Fiona's body all over. When his hands got too cold, Michelle rubbed her, then Julian, then Huey, and Fiona stirred at last. She woke. She raised her head. She talked in a dazed way, not to anybody else, to me. "Dog," she said. "There was so much darkness. Where were you?" "I was right here," I said. "I was right here, almost all the time." "Dog, you don't know how it is inside there. When they open it, it's very light and chilling bright, but when they close it, it's blinding dark, too dark." I jumped in fast when Michelle put some sweet fish sticks in, but once I was in, I couldn't smell or taste or eat, not fish sticks, not anything. "Dog, tell me, have I lost a lot of hair? I know I lost some. It stuck to the ice in there. There were icicles on my tongue. My eyes were starting to freeze, and the burning cold, dark shot all through me. It's not good in there. Don't ever go in there, dog." As if I ever would. "She's weak, but she's meowing. She's going to live," Ralph said. "Fiona, Spunky saved you," Huey said. I yerfed and pointed at the freezer so they would open it, I told her. I yerfed, even though Ralph called me pesky. "Dog, you are not pesky. You are great," Fiona said. "Oh, I thank you with all my heart, Spunky. You're more than a dog. You are a friend." We all sat in the eating room. Fiona lay in Michelle's lap, wrapped in a blanket. I pressed against the blanket to keep Fiona warm. "It was amazing the way Spunky pointed," Ralph said. "Maybe he's part Irish setter." "He could be part St. Bernard, too," Michelle said, making such a daring rescue of a fellow creature from freezing cold. "I'm a saint, and I'm Irish," I thought. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but it sounded good. Julian gave Fiona warm milk to drink. Huey gave me fresh, crisp nibbles, the kind I hardly ever get anymore, and heaps of hot tamale sauce-flavored tortilla chips. "It doesn't matter what breed he is," Huey said. "He's a rescue dog." A rescue dog. I could feel it inside me. Not just the word, but the meaning of it. I never knew what I was before. I knew I was a dog, which is the most important thing, sure, but I didn't know what kind. It didn't matter if no one could say what kind of dog I'd been born, or that I didn't have papers like Fiona. What mattered was something else completely. A dog needs a job, a purpose, something to accomplish with his life. I was a middle-aged dog, a dignified dog, rich in experience, yet I hadn't known any special purpose. I could have looked for a special purpose forever and never found it. But through Fiona, my purpose found me. Who would think a simple cat that smelled a foolish could teach an experienced dog, a dignified, reflective dog, a big, important thing like that? The joining. Through the open windows of the family lie-around room, green-cut grass and oily lawnmower smells blew in. Fiona and I both wanted to go outside, but Huey told us we couldn't. We were working. So was he. He was an artist. We were his models. He was making a birthday present for Ralph, a color portrait of Fiona and me. He couldn't draw us outside, he said, because outside we would move around too much. He wanted us to be still. I sat in Ralph's big chair, with my ears flopped down, very bored. Fiona sat on top of the couch in a glow of sunshine, purring. "The sun admires me," she said. "In a previous life, Spunky, I was a professional model." "How do you know you even had a previous life?" I said. "Cats always have 9 lives," she said. "Everybody knows that." Dogs deserve even more, I thought, but who knows if we'll get them. Huey had a pencil, an eraser, markers, and an extra big piece of paper. He drew and erased, and finally he painted on it with markers. When he was done, he blew on his picture and showed it to Fiona and me. He had drawn us touching noses. "Looks just like me," Fiona said, "only a little less beautiful." Well, yes, I thought, any human can draw a cat. I have seen those drawings chalked on sidewalks many times. To draw a cat, it only takes a few circles, a couple of lines, for whiskers, you're done. Nothing really to look at afterward either. But dogs, our shapes are more interesting, more difficult. For certain, it had taken Huey more time to draw me. "Spunky, you look a little bit like a goat," Fiona said. "In the picture, I mean." "It's all right," I said. I was pleased with Huey's picture. I've always wanted to have longer legs. In Huey's portrait, I had them. Huey had given me a very long neck, too, a bit like the neck of a giraffe, so my nose could reach way down and touch Fiona's. I didn't mind that either. That detail reminded me how much taller I am than she is. You don't really look like you," Fiona said. I explained to her. "An artist sees in a special way, Fiona, like you. There's more than one way for things to be true." "But my way's better," Fiona said. "That's what we all think," I told her. "Good. I'm glad everyone thinks my way is better," she said. "That's not what I meant," I said. "Everything's clear, and we can go now," Fiona said. Huey put his picture between the pages of a magazine and let us outside. Just for fun, I chased Fiona up a tree. Just for fun, she pretended to be scared of me. She stopped partway up the trunk. "The sun worships me," she said. "It wants me closer. It begged me to climb higher, but I said no." Aha! She hadn't climbed high the way she used to. She isn't so foolish anymore, I thought. She was older and wiser, which was a good thing, but it made me sad, too. If she should ever lose her spangly, silly smell of foolish, I knew I'd miss it very much. Through the open windows of the boys' sleeping room, a green grass smell washed in, damp and full of night. Julian was showing Huey his present for Ralph, a paper with some little flowers and cars drawn around the border. No dogs or cats at all. "See, Huey," Julian said. "See how I put the words Happy birthday gift certificate at the top. That makes it sound very official. I've written on it, Dad, the garbage will be professionally carried out to the street for you once a week for 1 year. And underneath, I've signed it with my name. Cool? Huey said. Do you want to see what I made? Gently, he took his portrait out of the magazine. Julian considered it. He breathed heavily. He ran his hand over the top of his head. Julian does that when he's brushing worries away. So what do you think? Huey said. Well, Julian said. Well, what? Huey said. Julian sighed a deep sigh. You know, Huey, it's nice, only it doesn't look too much like them. What you could do, Huey, is this. Tomorrow, in the morning, there'd be time for you to make a gift certificate like mine, and you could officially promise to sweep the garage every week and not give Dad my portrait. Well, you could give that to him too, of course, but maybe also something else would be even better. Julian got out a book about dogs and cats and opened it. See, Huey, dogs and cats don't look exactly the way you had them looking. He showed Huey all the things that were wrong with his portrait. Huey looked from the book to his picture, from his picture to the book, seeing all the things that were wrong. There were things wrong with his portrait for sure, but the things Julian missed seeing were the things that were right. For instance, the noses were exactly right. Also the tails, also the friendship, the new friendship between me and Fiona. Even if I did look a little like a goat and Fiona a little like a snowman, still you could see the friendship between us. That's important. It's a big talent for a human to be able to make a drawing showing something invisible, something valuable. Lots of humans can draw dogs and cats, but not that many can draw friendship. And friendship is a beautiful thing. I told Huey, your drawing's good. Once again, the tragedy of our not having a common language came between us, and all he understood was, "You're quiet, Spunky," he said. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, as if too much staring at his portrait had made him very tired. I guess it's not so good. Not good like I thought. He stuck his portrait back into the magazine he had taken it out of and dropped the magazine into the wastebasket. He didn't say if he'd make a gift certificate in the morning. He didn't say anything more at all. He got into our blanket cave alone, and very fast, without taking off any of his clothes or even his shoes. He pulled the blankets over his head. I heard him make one little whimpering sound. Fiona glanced at our blanket cave. "Sadness has never appealed to me," she said. "I will sleep elsewhere." "My place is with my boy," I said. I jumped onto our blanket cave. Huey felt my weight and let me into it and took off his shoes and knocked them out onto the floor without ever showing his face outside our cave. I licked Huey's hands, then his face. On sad nights, a good dog will never leave his boy's face unlicked. Huey made tiny snuffling noises. I stuck my nose against his ear and snuggled close to him. He lay between my front paws and hugged me, and that's the way we fell asleep. I dreamed of my ancestors. In the dream, they were very tall and glowing. I asked them if they would let my boys share my dream. They said, "Do you want a dream of joining?" And I answered, "Yes, that's what I want." "Young pup, we will grant your wish. You and your boy will have this dream. It will make you two special beings, dream keepers." My dream became so clear, and I remember it so well that when I think of it, it's as if it's still happening. I take Huey's hand in my mouth very gently and run with him a long way through the night. Together, we come to a great swamp where old leaves, dying, fall into great pools of still water. I smell a delicious smell of decay. I remember the secret smell of Ralph, and I know that this is the swamp Ralph's own dog took him to when he was a boy. The swamp of the rich smells that became part of Ralph. This is the swamp of the great joining. I know this because I can feel Huey and me becoming one. Our noses become one nose. He becomes partly dog and I become partly boy. I feel many strange changes in myself. I even start to understand what drawing is, as if I were an artist like Huey. We stand together in the great swamp, where time dissolves, where dreams and creations are born, where today decaying becomes the food for tomorrow. I think of Fiona. Was there ever a time when I didn't love her? It seems as if there never was. The ancestors speak once more. Dreamkeeper, dreamkeeper, they say. Dream deeper. Huey begins to dream too, because we dream together with one heart. Whatever we need to do, we can do. We explore the swamp, which leads to a river. We enter the river, and among pink dolphins and huge fish of many colors, we swim to the sea. We live among strange creatures at the bottom of the sea, then rise again to where the moon glitters on the water, and the moon lifts us and holds us in its arms. It's many dog hours, or maybe years, before the moon returns us to the green swamp, and then back at last to the best place of all, our blanket cave. In the morning, waking, I put my paws around Huey. He puts his arms around me. I wonder how his feet feel. My paws feel strange, a little sore, as if I'd been running all night, and they have a strange, rich smell that I like, but have never smelled before, a special smell of green. My boy whispers in my ear, I had a strange dream about you, Spunky, something about a swamp. Only there was more, much more, but I can't remember all of it. Only that it felt really good the way we were together. We stay close until even inside our blanket cave there's light, and we know it's time to open it to the world. The sun has risen. Julian is standing by us. Huey, Dad's awake. We should give him our presents right away, he says. I got this paper for you so you can make a gift certificate like mine. Huey reaches out a hand. He pulls the magazine with his portrait out of the wastebasket. He takes the portrait out of the magazine and holds it carefully. Thanks, Julian, he says, but I'm not making any certificate. I like my picture. You don't have to like it, but I think it's good. I'm giving it to Dad. He set his feet down firmly on the floor and takes a deep breath. His Huey nose is more sensitive now, being part dog nose. I see that he has special feet too, feet like his dad's, strong feet for taking a stand, quick feet for going where he'll need to go, feet with a bit of swamp fragrance to them. The sun comes in the window with rays that make rainbows in my eyes. My eyes blink shut and open with a deeper sight. For one brief now, I see the far, far future. My boy, an old man, still searching out and finding his right path, as I, long gone from this world, return to visit him in dreams. And that is the end of Spunky Tells All. This book is by Anne Cameron with pictures by Lauren Castillo. It was published by Farrar, Straus and Giroux, and in the year 2011. I hope you've enjoyed this story, and I hope you join us again next time when someone will be starting a new story with you. Until then, my name's Mary, and I'm from the Children's Room at the Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine. And for now, bye-bye.